Ty Burr.
I'm Wesley Morris.
And today on Take Two, we are discussing the documentary Inside Job, the Charles Ferguson documentary that aims to get you hot and bothered again, but with detail about what went wrong in the financial meltdown a couple of years ago and why we were all pretty much royally screwed by everybody on Wall Street.
But I do think it serves a sort of higher purpose beyond sort of making you angry. I think it sort of makes a really excellent case for why what happened without the outrage getting in the way. Do you know what I mean? I was thinking a lot about like Michael Moore's Capitalism: A Love Story, which
This is not a Michael Moore
fine
movie.
and became so molten with anger that it sort of self-destructed. This is actually a very sort of measured. It comes to a boil at some point.
Well, you know, I mean, tell them, you know, what it does. I mean, it basically tracks the origins of this from the beginning of the Reagan era and the decontrolling of the market.
Yeah, all these people eventually the government just sort of became overrun with people who did not believe in regulation of the markets, and those people
blame goes pretty spread thickly around.
It's quite nonpartisan, and what you become aware of is the ways in which Wall Street managed to get far enough inside the government to bend certain things to its will.
Right, with the assistance of the economic, the economist community, the academic community.
Yes, I mean it's a very comprehensive,
as well as the bond raters and the bond rating companies and pretty much everybody who had a stake in it.
So what you get the sense of is that it's not just these random occurrences; it's actually this much more conspiratorial, capitalistic occurrence that produced this catastrophe.
And one thing that Ferguson does, I mean, Ferguson's a presence in this movie. He's off camera, but you hear him ask these questions, and sometimes the questions are phrased in just tones of absolute disbelief. Did you really say this? And for me, one of the most illuminating parts of the movie is when he puts, you know, several economists, you know, like Harvard economists who were really responsible for some of the decisions that have been made that led to the crisis, and asks them, did you really think this? And they're stumped. They can't answer because they're on the spot.
Right.
It's really a damning indictment.
Yeah, and it's sort of uncomfortable. I don't like watching that in person, but in a movie, it's actually good theater in some ways. But I mean, I've seen a lot of movies, and so have you, where there's a degree of, where there's a political subject and it's handled without the requisite filmmaking to sort of make the point clear, without the requisite sort of emotional force to
ideology
make
without
its
craft.
Drive its point home. But this is a movie, and at this point it's fair to say that it's a rare movie that manages to be both well made, well thought out, and emotionally affecting.
Right.
And you know, I've been thinking about this movie since I saw it last spring. I saw it again, and I still think about it. And not so much about the actual filmmaking, but about the way in which its many points and its many confrontations play out and what those things mean.
Well, they play out, and they play out really in your head as you're watching it. It's a movie that, you know, like any good, you know, agit pop documentary, which is sort of what I call the post Michael Moore style of documentary, but as one of the, you know, the best examples, it really wants you to do the math in your head and to take it forward when you leave the theater, and it makes it easy for you to do that with the skill in which it's told. That said, I could feel his outrage starting to chafe me in the last 15 minutes. And, you know, and I really didn't need the helicopter shot of the Statue of Liberty, you know, rousing me to action.
Those last 15 minutes, so if I recall, are the ones in which he actually speculates that one of the ways to bring these guys to account for, one of the ways to get these guys prosecuted is to focus on their entertainment expenses. And to sort of get the hookers and the drug dealers and the minions to testify. You know, you give them immunity, you don't ask them any questions about what they do that's illegal, just to get these executives. And I think that that's a kind of radical call to arms in a lot of ways. And I mean, this movie is brave in
let's see if anybody follows up on it. It's like getting Al Capone on taxes.
Yeah,
but,
well,
you know,
we'll see. We'll see. I mean, it could produce more than an Oscar. It could actually, you know, produce.
Well, which means that you need to go see it. It's called Inside Job. It's a very fine documentary. I'm Ty Burr.
I'm Wesley Morris.